Alrighty, so this is my negative rebuttal to my partner's rebuttal, who rebutted my negative speech. It was first mentioned in my opponent's speech that unnecessary machines will have to be built when he was talking about my idea of solar paneling. He said that these machines would have to be built in order to create solar paneling. It would create more pollution here on Earth. I think regardless though, whether we're building solar paneling for renewable energy or we are building machinery to extract from the moon, we'd still be building unnecessary machinery, which will inevitably create pollution here on Earth. So I think it's just a matter of choosing what machines you want to build in order to create pollution, solar panels or machines to extract from the moon. I think it also can't be ignored that the surface of the Earth receives 120,000 terawatts of solar radiation or sunlight, which is 200,000 times more power than what is needed to supply the entire world. I think that can't go unnoticed. It's a lot of energy, so regardless of the negative side effects of solar paneling, my opponent mentioned the fact that solar panels break, they can release chemicals into the air. Well, if solar panels break, they may or may not end up in a landfill, and the chemicals inside solar paneling can then seep into the ground or into the water, and there's a very, toxic chemical in there that is known to create cancer. So I think that's just a negative side effect. Like all things have negative side effects. I think solar paneling is something that can be incredibly useful, seeing as how that's how much sunlight and energy hits the Earth in one day. Launching equipment and technicians into space can be just as costly as installing solar paneling. Say we do selfishly supply enough solar panels to just power the US. Instead of covering an area the size of Spain, like I'd mentioned in my previous video, if we just needed to power the US, we can basically cut that size into a quarter of what I had mentioned previously. So that cuts the price down in a quarter of what was mentioned. So I think the pricing was a little bit off. If we were to just supply the US with enough solar panels to power the United States, then it would cost a quarter of what I mentioned in my last video, which wouldn't be as expensive as the trillions or billions of dollars that was mentioned in my opponent's rebuttal. And today it costs $10,000 to put a pound of payload into Earth's orbit, and so I guess the money used to build and install solar panels can be related to the amount of money it would take to launch equipment and technicians into space. Just it depends on what the US really wants to spend their money on. My opponent argues that we would build habitats on the moon from the titanium we uncover, and we would use the water we uncover up on the moon in order to further our space exploration. But I think it can't be ignored that we're struggling for resources here on Earth. We are in one of the worst droughts in recorded history, and the energy crisis has been threatening this Earth for years now with no solution in mind. So I think it's more important to focus on bringing resources that we extract from anywhere back down to Earth in order to help us as a place, as a habitat we live in, and as people. I think it would be more useful as opposed to using titanium to build habitats on the moon and extracting water to give to, people, to give to technicians on the moon. It would be more useful to bring those resources back down to Earth. If we recover enough money to mine the moon or cover a small landmass in solar panels, it better benefit humanity. And this kind of ties back to what I was saying about we need the resources here on Earth. I think if we do end up getting enough money to either build and equip solar panels or send technicians and equipment into space, it better benefit humanity. So the least of our problems would be building a pit stop, say, for astronauts during space travel, which is what was mentioned in my partner's affirmative. We have to give and take as a country. Plastic water bottles, cell phones, and microwaves could all also potentially cause cancer when thrown away or not properly disposed of. So I think there's always a negative side effect to, using heavy technology. The benefit of solar powering is greater than the negative side effect of being placed in a landfill.